Why, hello there! Today I want to make a video about 3 of my least favourite things about living and working abroad. The reason I'm doing this is in the interest of balance, because I've already made a video about 3 of my favourite things about living and working here, and I wanted to make sure I was presenting a realistic and balanced view of my experience. I'm also hoping that if you're on the fence about moving to a new country to study or work, that this might help you make up your mind, because obviously some of these problems will affect some people more than others. So let's get started. This first one is specifically for assistant language teachers, and that is that you have little to no influence on your workplace or your job. So most assistant language teachers will apply for a position before they move to the country, and so they'll get a job and then be moved to the country with a visa from that workplace. So this means that you don't really get a say very much in where you go or what kind of job you'll be doing. And beyond that, within the workplace itself, often you won't have very much of a say in how your work is done either, because you are, after all, an assistant language teacher. So if you're someone who likes to have a lot of control over your job and your work environment, maybe this isn't the job for you, because you definitely will not have terribly much of a say in what's going on in your workplace. Another thing that's connected to this is that there isn't very much room for movement within companies either. So if you're hired as an assistant language teacher, you can only be an assistant language teacher. And a lot of places will also restrict your work outside of this one job. So you wouldn't be allowed to, say, have a job on the side. It will be you're an assistant language teacher and nothing else. And there isn't really much room for, I guess promotion is the right word, or movement within your company, because you're hired for this one single job. So if you're someone who's looking for upward momentum and kind of a place where you can start a career, assistant language teacher is also not the position for you. I think it can sometimes feel like you've put your life on hold because of this, because a lot of the time, assistant language teacher, like, you're working this job in order to have a cultural experience or to learn a language or to get some job experience for the next part of your life. So sometimes that can mean that for some people it feels like your life has been kind of put in stasis while you do this one thing. I don't think that it's that way for everyone, but it's something that I've experienced on occasion, so it's definitely worth thinking about if you're the kind of person who likes the potential to work hard and move up in your company, or if you're the kind of person who really likes to have a lot of influence in your workplace. This is going to be a tough job for you. Okay, so that's that one. The next one I think is pretty obvious, and that is isolation and being an outcast. So of course, when you move away from your home country, you're going to be leaving behind a really big support network of friends and family. And while you will definitely make new friends and form new relationships in your new country, at least for the first few years, you just don't have that same time investment to make those relationships and bonds as strong or as close as you might like them to be. So if you're the kind of person who feels depressed very easily from being lonely or isolated, then this is something to really consider. I think it's really important to know yourself and know that you'll be able to handle it, because that's definitely, I think, one of the toughest things about moving to a new country is starting from scratch with all of your relationships. The other thing that goes along with that, like I said, is being an outcast. So despite your best efforts to assimilate into a new culture and learn the language and all of that stuff, you will always be, to some degree, a foreigner. And that can be a very isolating experience in and of itself. You will always be looked at differently, treated a little differently, all of those things. And that can feel it can be very alienating, because you're not used to it, right? In your home country, you would get treated like anyone else, but in a new country, you get treated like a foreigner. And you are a foreigner, but sometimes you just wish that you could be treated like everyone else and just not looked at and not recognized and all of that stuff. So I think those are really important things to consider. And like I said, if you're the type of person who is easily affected by isolation, then perhaps it's not the right move for you. And my last one is expectations versus reality. I've mentioned in a few of my past videos that I think one of the most important things that you can do when you're thinking of moving abroad is to make sure that you have realistic expectations. Or better yet, just go in with as much of a blank slate of expectations as you can. And that is because the expectation of living and working abroad can be very, very different from the reality. I feel like a lot of what we're shown and told is like, of course, the highlights, because people will post on social media or like have this idealized view of a country and a culture and living there. And that's not going to be how it actually is. A lot of the things that you will do are mundane, everyday things. Sometimes it will be boring, sometimes it will be unpleasant. And that is all life, right? Like, you're living in a new country, so you're going to experience both the highs and the lows. And as much as like movies and TV shows and social media would have you believe that living in a new country is like all trips to amazing places and taking photos and like traveling to incredible places, trying delicious foods, all of this stuff, which it can be, it is also filling out paperwork, working like overtime when you really don't want to, not understanding something that someone has repeated to you 3 times. Like, there are all these things that will happen that won't be thrilling and exciting and like everything you ever dreamed of. It'll just be everyday life because you're living there. I don't know how to explain this any better, but really, I think one of the worst things that you can do if you're thinking of moving abroad is set your expectations too high, because the thing is, if your expectations are super high and you get disappointed, you will never be happy with what you actually have. Whereas if your expectations are reasonable or realistic or kind of as non-existent as you can make them, then whatever happens you're going to find interesting and you're going to take it as you go. So I think, yeah, the way that living abroad is portrayed in the media is very misleading, and it's very important that you as a person recognize that and maybe look into some more like realistic views of the place that you're thinking of moving and make sure that it really is what you want to do and it's not just this idealized version that you have in your head. So yeah, expectations versus reality. Make sure that yours are on point. Okay, so that is 3 of my least favorite things about living and working abroad. I really hope that you don't take this video as super negative, because genuinely I would not change my living abroad experience for the world. I think it's been incredible, and I honestly don't know anyone who's regretted living and working abroad. So if that helps, then there it is. But I just wanted to make sure that I was being fair in my portrayal of living and working in another country, because I don't think it's very realistic to only put out the good things and never talk about the negatives. I also hope that if you were looking at making a decision on whether you wanted to live and work abroad, that this has helped you. And if you have any more questions, please ask in the comments below. I will do my best to answer them. But for now, I will talk to you later. Bye!